Hi, my name's Emma and let's talk spooky stuff. Scream, the slasher franchise that broke all of the rules, making fun of stereotypes while playing into them. Scream 4 describes it the best.
A bunch of articulate teens sit around and deconstruct horror movies until Ghostface kills them one by one.
It's meta, it's fun, and it's brutal. This franchise, directed by the late Wes Craven, has 4 installments, each making light of the last. The original plot follows Sydney Prescott, who has recently lost her mother in a brutal homicide. Now she is stalked by a masked psychopath for unknown reasons. That's the first, but it's also pretty much all of them. Think of it this way, Scream is this series for the Randys of the world, the people who are yelling at the screen, telling the characters what to do and what not to do. Scream is self-aware. I mean, what other series make sure that the killer is dead, sometimes several times over?
Head! Shoot him in the head!
And with Scream 2022, we have some burning questions. Will this epic franchise survive after Wes Craven? Will they do it justice? Who's Ghostface this time? And most importantly, is Gail back with a fringe, or is she bringing the streaks? Today we're going to rank the first 4 Scream films in preparation of the new one coming out this week. I'll also talk to you about a few of my biases and of course my favorite moments in the films. I warn you, this is not your typical ranking. We're going to have a lot of fun because that's what the Scream movies are all about. Fun and finding out who Ghostface is. And of course there will be spoilers for the first 4 films, but to catch a killer, you first have to hunt one. And that brings me to today's sponsor, Hunter Killer. Hunter Killer is a murder mystery subscription box. Yes, you heard right. Everything you need to solve the episode is within the box, so you don't even have to leave the couch. Also, there's no minimum players, so if you work better solo, that's totally fine.
I work better alone.
But if you want to invite your friends around for a true crime night, that's also an option. And unlike Gale Weathers, you can feel very ethical playing this game, because part of the proceeds from every box goes to the Cold Case Foundation, an organization dedicated to helping with real-life cold cases. My partner and I played for a date night in, and I'm a huge fan of how interactive the game was. Not only did you get all of the stuff within the box, there's also a digital platform that you can find clues on, and there was a Spotify playlist made by one of the characters in the case, which made the whole game a little bit more atmospheric listening along. Right now, you can go to hunterkiller.com/astronauts and use the code astronauts to get $10 off your order. That's the code astronauts on hunterkiller.com/astronauts. Thank you to Hunter Killer for sponsoring this video, and let's begin. Okay, there's 2 things I need to get off my chest. I need to talk about my biases when it comes to the Scream franchise. We are pro-Gale. This is a pro-Gale channel. Gale Weathers is one of my gods, I have to say, and we're anti-Cotton Weary. I hope we're all on the same page anyway when it came to this, but I just have to make my standpoint known. I know that Gale Weathers can be insensitive, ruthless, a jerk, but these are qualities that help her to save not just Sydney, but the whole gang, not once, not twice, but maybe 3 times during the whole series. Which actually, now I say it doesn't sound like a lot. They go through a lot, but she helps solve the case.
I helped solve these things 3 times, remember?
She also has the biggest character arc throughout the series, starting as a ruthless reporter.
So, how's the book?
And ending as one of Sydney's friends and a true hero. She allows all the lessons and characters, Dewey, she meets along the way to change her ethics and her morals, really.
Dewey's a good guy. Unlike some of us. Are you okay? I'm coming with you.
Gale Weathers is a headstrong character and one of my favorite parts of the whole franchise. So I just had to let you know because there is a reason that this video is heavily focused on her. Sorry, not sorry. Cotton Weary, on the other hand, mega creep. Maybe even creepiest dude to ever live. Okay, maybe I'm being a little bit harsh, but even if he's innocent with Sydney's mum, body language is everything. And when he's the good guy, he's still bad. He still only cares about himself.
Quite a predicament you're in, Sid.
Cotton,
I mean, she makes a good point.
And of course, like everyone in this franchise, he's a plant. He's meant to be a suspect at times. So I don't want to hear about how I'm judging him when he didn't really do too much wrong, because he's intentionally meant to be creepy. That's why they put him in the film. So any vibes I'm picking up, the film put down. Also, I don't want to ignore the fact that he did ruin Scream tradition. In Scream 3, Ghostface is straight to it during the opening scene, messing with an original cast member, Cotton, and his girlfriend. So he ruins the whole original setup that the Scream movies have, where they open to a new cast member that gets killed off. I mean, he dies, but we'll get to that later. So thanks, Cotton. Even if you die, thank you. Now that we've got that out of the way, you'll understand my viewpoints a little bit more moving forward. So let's just get into it. Let's rank the films from worst to best. Of course, I actually like every Scream movie, so I do get a little bit nitpicky in explaining why I've ordered them this way, but it's all in good fun. Let's start at the bottom with Scream 3. Scream 3 was released in 2000, directed, of course, by Wes Craven. This film is maybe the most meta of them all, which is a big claim.
How meta can you get?
What can you get?
It starts, as I said, with Cotton's demise, which I mean is a bang. As one of the integral parts of the original Scream movie, him dying was big news. The film is mostly set in Hollywood, where they are recording Stab 3. A new Ghostface is now on the loose and is killing off the cast members for the film one by one in the order they die in the movie. The issue is there's 3 alternative scripts for the movie, so really, anyone could be next. And fun fact, Scream 3 actually had 3 scripts written for it, because that's how meta we get. At the end of talking about each film, I'm going to discuss my favorite moments. But because this is at the bottom, I have to justify why it's here. And although I do love all of the Scream movies, trust me, I don't want this to reflect badly on the franchise. I do have a couple of bones to pick with this film, and none of them have to do with Gail's hairstyle, so back off. Please hear me out, because this does not reflect on my overall love for this franchise. Number 1, Randy being killed off in number 2 just hurts my soul. I'm not going to start crying again. And because he's gone, the film just doesn't have that fun and fresh feel. Although, of course, he does reappear for a moment in this film from the dead, if you will. I hate to say it, but I feel like part of the franchise died with Randy. He was just so fantastic, and I feel like that element is gone. Number 2 is the Maureen voice.
I'd say I can't protect you at all.
This is the voice of Sydney's mom that comes in and out of the film. At one point, they insinuate that Sydney might be hearing things. It might all be in her head. And as someone who has survived a lot at this point, this is film number 3, I can't believe people wouldn't believe her that she was being chased. Again, stranger things have happened. But then also to lean into this idea that she's having these hallucinations, but then never to fully commit. Which leads me to number 3, which kind of comes off that. Let's talk about Roman. Of course, Maureen's voice was meant to connect Sydney to the clues of the real-life killer that turns out to be, spoiler alert, her stepbrother, who is the director of Stab 3, Roman. I'm gonna put it out there and say this might be my least favorite reveal for who the killer is in the Scream franchise. I feel like Roman didn't have enough screen time for it to be a dramatic twist. And then also, there's a lot of talk about trilogies in this film, with the idea that, of course, this is number 3, so this is the trilogy in the Scream franchise. But I want to be corrected if I am wrong, but Scream wasn't written to be a trilogy. And what Randy makes a point of saying is that the trilogy is all about going back to the original and changing one aspect that changes the whole flow of events and the whole idea of the story, which we see in other trilogies, but we don't see in this film because it wasn't written that way. It feels like Maureen's past and her secret son is just tacked on top of the story, and it's not really woven into it where you can look back and reflect on the way people acted or different aspects or clues along the way that make it actually clever. It just feels like it's tacked onto the top. And my last reason, and I might get a little bit of heat for this, is because of the credits. When the credits rolled, I couldn't help but notice that Harvey Weinstein's name was there as an executive producer for the film. Also in this film is a whole kind of idea or side plot that's introduced about what happened to Maureen and how she was abused by producers.
It was for girls like her to meet men. Men who could get them parts if they made the right impression.
I mean, ironic, meta, sure. But, I mean, he's still involved in the film, and it just made me feel very strange. But let's keep it moving because there still is a lot to like about this film. My standouts for this film are Gail's striking yellow suit and iconic hair. Parker Posey, she is absolutely fantastic in this role, mimicking Gail. I loved the scene where Sydney goes through the prop house. I thought that was fantastic. Sydney's fight scene, I feel like this was really well orchestrated. The fact that we open and close with this beautiful golden retriever that is never in any danger throughout the film. Love that. And of course, one of the more emotional endings in the series, the door that opens back up and Sydney walks away to reveal she's not afraid anymore. Second to the bottom of this ranking is Scream 4. Can you believe that Scream 4 came out 10 years ago? That's crazy. Do you know that makes it the same gap between 3 and 4 as there will be between 4 and 5? Scream 4 has a wild start. It begins with the girls from Stab 6 talking about Saw, and then there's a kill. Then it cuts to Kristen Bell and Anna Paquin for another kill, which is very exciting, and it reveals that they're in Stab 7. Then it goes into the new cast, which are 2 blonde girls messing with each other to reveal that's the actual plot. I love this starting. I thought it was a really fun way to refresh the series and make it really fun for the audience. It sets up the tone in a very unique and Scream way. In this one, we follow Sydney, who after writing a book, which is very off-brand for her, returns to her hometown where Ghostface stalks her and a younger generation of horror movie fans. This time we also follow her cousin Jill, played by Emma Roberts, and her friends as they try to work with the original cast to find the killer. This one is interesting because it's not really a reboot or a remake. I mean, it's called Scream 4. It's more of a Scream-make.
Working on less of a shriequel and more of a scream-make. Copyrighted terms, by the way. Because all there are now are remakes.
But it feels like a reboot because it's an all-new, younger group focus, which is unlike any of the other films. We saw them in high school, we saw them in college, we saw them go to a film set, and now we have a new generation. And with that, we have a new film geek, Robbie. And he does a pretty good job at trying to mimic the feel that we got from Randy, but they are big shoes to fill. There's even a new deputy in town. Years later, even with an upgrade of technology, Wes Craven really kept that original Scream feel with the music and the direction. But there is one thing different in this film, and that's the stylization. The film has a filter, is what people are calling it, on it, that a lot of fans have complained about. It looks kind of like a glare to me, appearing in highly exposed spots. People have said, once again, it's a throw to it being meta, and it makes the film look like a generic horror movie. I'm thinking more like a soap. It's not unwatchable, but it's definitely noticeable and worth mentioning. Other new things, we get an upgrade in technology with live streams, and Ghostface is making a film of their own with cameras built into their masks. And there's a lot to like in this film, particularly how they handle the second half of the film, which is just as enjoyable as the setup. I love the ending to Scream 4. The film does a great job at making a second half so exciting. The film has one of the better reveals and reasonings for Ghostface. Emma Roberts as a psycho is pretty believable.
I was so believable today, wasn't I?
Jill's motive was also pretty believable. With 7 stabs being out now, she is constantly living in her cousin's shadow and her whole family feels the impact. I mean, I wouldn't kill anyone over it, but I feel for her. Do I? And her killing her co-pilot and then making it look like she was the one in the altercation. Everyone loves that scene, especially the glass table. The film also does a really fun thing with a false ending, which is something we see in a lot of horror movies. They take the characters to the hospital where they have one final hurrah. And then of course, where Sydney and our hero, Gail, team up to kill another Ghostface. My standouts for this film are Gail calling the movie marathon a circle jerk.
Where is this circle jerk gonna take place?
The deputy, the new deputy, looking like Pennywise. I can't unsee it now, I'm sorry. The way that the wind moves in Sydney's hair during this shot, Kirby, just Kirby, And if you need more than that, Kirby denying Charlie because she can't trust him. It's one of those moments in Scream where we yell at the character for doing the right thing. Anthony Anderson's death, which I can't show here because it's very brutal, but it's pretty much a knife straight to the skull, and it's epic. It's everything. Oh, and did I mention the glass table? We're halfway now, and you folks are not dumb. You know what's coming next. There's only 4 Scream movies. So next, let's talk about Scream 2. My second favorite Scream movie, and I'm gonna get serious for 1 second. I don't want to hear anyone complaining that Scream has become woke. So dumb. What you may be forgetting is that Scream 3 had a Me Too section, and Scream 2 has an epic monologue by Jada that is all truth.
It's a dumbass white movie about some dumbass white girls getting their white asses cut up, okay?
And then of course they kill her, which it does make for one of the more epic startings for the films. I love the way Scream 2 starts, and in a theater, Jada, she killed it, and then she got killed. This film takes place 2 years after the first series of murders. We now follow Sydney in college with mostly new friends because all of her other ones were killed, but she still has Randy. And of course, we've got the other characters from the old gang. We got Gail, we got Dewey, and we got Cotton. And she's also got a new suspicious boyfriend called Derek, played by Jerry O'Connell. No offense, Derek, but I'm really happy that they dropped the Sydney sus love interest after this film, because I feel like it's just a go-to and it was just getting a little bit old. I like that they focused more on the love story between Gail and Dewey and, you know, really kept that away from the main character. It's a nice break. This one had a huge cast though, with lots of 90s household names and a lot of them taking smaller roles. Just to name a few: Sarah Michelle Gellar, Joshua Jackson, Portia de Rossi, Tori Spelling, Luke Wilson, and even Selma Blair. She plays a voice on the phone, not Ghostface. She actually plays the person that Cece is talking to. There's lots to love in this film, and I did lay out my biases before. Gail just shines in this movie. This movie is all about the Gail arc. She starts by ambushing Sid with an interview with Cotton, and then with Dewey's influence, her motivations change.
Dewey's a good guy. Unlike some of us.
She also saves them all. And Dewey shuts down any suspicion of Gail Weathers being a ghost face from here on out. So if I see it in the new film, heads are gonna roll.
No, Gail's a lot of things, but Gail's not a killer.
Randy gives the killer speech about sequels, which I think many horror fans live for until this day, sponsored by Baskin & Robbins, of course. And the twist, we get a true crossover, Friday the 13th style, with Mrs. Voorhees. I'm just kidding, it's Mrs. Loomis, which makes it a homage to Halloween and Friday the 13th, when Mrs. Loomis is the killer, and her motive? Pure revenge. She keeps it simple. Simple is classic. Oh, and of course, there's a second killer, which is one of their friends who goes to college with them. It's the best friend of the boyfriend, and he just went along with the plan so that she could pay for his college. But of course, she just guts him, like all good killers do in this series. I really liked the twist of this one, the pure revenge. It made sense, and I love the way it plays out on the stage. Very theatrical. She has very crazy eyes. It just all works for me. But some other standout moments from this film include Dewey standing alone under the tree looking around for Sid, Gail's self-aware one-liner.
Hey, you need to check your conscience at the door, sweetie. We're not here to be loved.
Dewey's one-liner about Gail's hair.
Nice streaks.
The singing in the cafeteria scene, which everyone loves, and the tension in the scene where Sid has to climb over the killer. This is really good. And of course, we've got something that stands out for a bad reason. Randy, R.I.P. And all of this, of course, brings me to my favorite film of the franchise. It just can't be beat. We're talking about Scream. A surprise to no one, the original Scream for me just can't be beat. Starting off with one of the most brutal deaths in cinema, Drew Barrymore did a psycho and disappeared at the start of the movie. It's one of the most epic openings for a horror film. Drew Barrymore being sliced and diced, it really shocked the audience and set Scream up just from the first 10-15 minutes to being one of the most iconic horror films of all time. All this paired with the haunting, almost choir-like score as the reveal strikes with lightning. From that moment, we knew Drew Barrymore was dead, and this series was gonna be like no other. Scream 1996 is the story of Sidney Prescott, who, while dealing with the brutal death of her mother, becomes the victim of a masked killer, calling, stalking, and killing all of her friends one by one. Scream is what I like about all the other Scream films, just stripped back. It introduces the idea of meta horror, being in a horror movie while you're aware of it. We learn the rules, we learn no one's safe, and of course we learn everyone's a suspect and they all have pretty good motives. This movie had us screaming at the screen, yes, especially when Sydney dials 911 on her computer in 1996. Yes, that is a choice. And Randy guides us through this waking nightmare, surviving somehow, even as a film geek, defying all the odds. The film was funny, edgy, scary, and brutal. It mirrors its own actions, which somehow makes the cringe moments in the 90s acceptable. I mean, I know what they're doing, and they know that I know what they're doing, and they know that I know that they know that I know what I'm doing. Anyway, there's an invisible dialogue between us about us all knowing what this film really is. And once you know all the rules, you're welcome to break them. And so they do that. They do the unthinkable and they reveal Ghostface as being two killers. And this was such a great twist because while we were trying to keep tabs on everyone's motives and everyone's alibis, who was there and who was where when Ghostface was there, we didn't realize they were doing the old switcheroo, and there was two of them tag teaming. Their motive? I mean, these guys are pure evil. They admit to the brutal killing of Sydney's mum, which is horrifying, and they say it's because she broke up Billy's family. I never said it was good reason, but it's reason enough for two dudes who are this sick. And I love this reveal scene where all the magic happens and poor Stu is failing to realize that he teamed up with evil. My standouts for this film: the whole first scene, particularly the part where they tilt down to the swing set where Casey's body will be strung. This classic Exorcist line,
The Exorcist was on. Got me thinking of you.
of course, Wes Craven's infamous cameo as Freddy, Gale saving the day twice, everyone's favorite "be right back" quote,
I'll be right back!
and Gale losing her shit. Thank you so much for watching. If you'd like to subscribe, I'd love to have you here. I do 2 videos every single week talking about horrors and thrillers, giving you a lot to watch, and I still have a lot of Scream goodies on the way. Please let me know what your ranking is down below in the comments, and be sure to let me know who you think Ghostface will be in the upcoming film. I am so excited. I'm gonna have to tell you, I do have my eye on the Lemon Square deputy. I think it might be her. She's on the poster. I think it's gonna be her. I got a feeling. It's the Pennywise eyes. Okay, I hope you're having a fantastic day, and I'll talk to you all very soon. Stay safe and stay spooky. Bye, friends.